All right. So a recent NHL draftee, this Windsor kid, he was selected fifth overall or fifth round, sorry, in this year's entry draft by the New York Islanders, a current Windsor Spitfire as well, Matt Maggio. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. It's good to finally get on.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. I mean, joining some of your family as well, and probably want to get them all on, but we'll talk about that as well. But I mean, you're a kid, one of those kids that got to play for their hometown team, something special. And I mean, this season in playoff was nothing short of special.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, looking back on it now, it's kind of sunk in, kind of just that run that we really went on. But for a while there, it was kind of a fever dream. I mean, you grew up, and I was lucky enough to watch those teams that they had in 29, 2010, and the back-to-back Mem Cup teams. And just I remember going to games and kind of being in awe of Ryan Ellis and Hall and Henrique and those guys. And then just how much I idolized those guys growing up. And then to finally be there not too long after, 10 years after. And then you kind of want to be that role model that they were to you. So I think it's definitely something that was cool. And honestly, that playoff experience was the best time of my life. Obviously, it was tough going down the way that we did, but just the support we had and the way that Windsor really came together there for a few months was something special to watch.
Yeah, man. I mean, touch upon a lot of things that I'd like to talk about throughout the interview here. But man, what a special time it was. And again, kind of for yourself, having some local ties. I mean, just being from Windsor, your dad worked for the Spits for a one time, and cousins playing in the league. So it must have been pretty cool. I mean, you're the first Maggio to actually play for the Spits, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that was something that was really important when I did get traded back to Windsor, was kind of just having that chance to either stay in Ottawa or come back, and because I had a no trade clause. So when they let me know that I was up to be traded, and asked me if I wanted to accept it, obviously looking back on it now, is probably the best decision I could have made in terms of my career and just my personal life, being able to live at home and hang out and spend time with my family and have my family close and my friends, but also going out and driving 6-7 minutes to the rink and being able to suit up and put on that jersey that I've had in my closet since I was 5-6 years old, and kind of just that team that I grew up loving and watching.
That's really cool, man. I mean, it's just like the same shit that you did when you were younger, right? But now it's like the Spitfires, the OHL. It's the pretty much top league you can get at your age and skill, right? So to be able to do that is very cool. And again, like you said, I'm sure you got to go to a lot of Spits games growing up, and now to play in the same arena too, right? A lot of people went to games at the barn, which you might have been able to do as well. But once you got to like high school and stuff, it was WFCU, right?
For sure, yeah. And I think just kind of, even in the last few years, obviously it hasn't been as electric as I remember it as a kid, just with the teams they had. And new rink, obviously it's a bit bigger of a rink, and obviously it's pretty tough to pack it. But the way that it was in playoffs and just how loud that was, I mean, everyone I talked to from around the league, teams we played against, they said that they came to Windsor and they knew it was going to be the loudest rink in the OHL. So I think that's pretty cool that we kind of cemented ourselves as having that throughout the playoff run. And I think that helped a ton. So it was pretty special.
Oh, 100%, man. And I mean, you would know, just being from Windsor and being able to watch a lot of those teams in years past. But, a lot of us said, like, this reminds us of the old days, right? Especially as it went on, it was just rowdier, hotter. It was everything that we remembered, really, right? And it was like you guys were recreating some of that magic. It was really cool.
Yeah, for sure. No, it was definitely a lot of fun, and still hasn't even really kicked in kind of what happened, for sure.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to really kind of talk about right now, because it wasn't too long ago, probably about a month ago, and at that time it was the the talk of the town, obviously, and again, the way it ended for you guys, I'm sure it was a little bittersweet, right? So now that it's all kind of, the dust is cleared, it's like, holy shit, we did good, right? Like,
yeah. I think this is actually one of my first times talking about it. I knew after a few weeks after, I was just crushed. I didn't even want to really bring it up. And obviously you have everyone coming up to you and kind of saying, oh, congrats, you guys made it so far and all that stuff. And I don't know. I think I was just so disappointed
Yeah.
in kind of the outcome, and not really understanding that it's a game. It could go both sides. I feel like I took a lot of it on me just because I had some chances in that last game
Sure.
to score and stuff like that. But I think now that it's kind of passed, obviously just looking back, it was such a special thing. And just the way that it brought Windsor together, even if we didn't win. I mean, I don't know if it's been that packed since probably the last time would be the Mem Cup. So.
Yeah, 100%, man. I was saying that, like, I don't remember seeing this many people at a game since that final. And before that was, 10 years before that, right? Or 7 years or whatever. So again, just kind of alluding to what we're saying, it made those memories kind of come back and brought that feel back, and again, everyone kind of does that kind of, gets on themselves as well. But at the time, it's not like you're not looking at that, right? I mean, you're hyper focused on one goal, right? And it is what it is, right?
For sure.
And it probably a learning experience for you too. I mean, we'll get into it. I mean, this was your first playoff, right? Like you got cut off before. So to have that experience was a little bit new at that level, right? To be on TSN, and I mean, the exposure, right? So I'm sure there was a lot going on at once, and you weren't just like, oh, thanks. Yeah, we went far. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of people kind of underestimate that fact. I mean, still it's 16 to 21-year-olds, and
Sure.
It's a young league, and some of these guys, myself included, can't even really grow too much facial hair yet. So I don't know. It's kind of crazy, just the scenarios that you get put in, and obviously basically everyone's first playoffs. I mean, I had a little bit of playoff experience just because my rookie year in Ottawa, they went to the finals as well, and I kind of got to watch that. But I think being able to play it was a totally different experience, and being a guy that was kind of counted on a little bit there definitely made it way more. I was way more into it, obviously, and obviously take some of that blame for the loss for sure. But I think that using that as a learning experience will definitely help. And if I'm back next year, I think that's something that I wake up every morning, and that's the first thing on my mind is I want revenge, and I want to be the guys on the other side of that ice hoisting the cup. And just the way that I felt after that game, and a lot of the guys, the way that we felt after that game, I don't think any of us ever kind of really want to go through that again. So I know I've been texting all the younger guys and making sure they're in the gym, and making sure that everyone's working on things that they can, and kind of just not allowing that to happen next year is kind of my motto. And I know if I'm back, I want to win a Mem Cup and bring it home.
Yeah, because this thing isn't over, right? I mean, this team is still a contender no matter what come next year, right? So
yeah, for sure. And definitely next year, maybe try to come back and use that experience from camp again. I know when I went to Washington camp and came back, just getting to use that experience. And then especially this year with all the younger guys coming in, definitely just trying to be a leader, and kind of help guys like guys helped me when I was younger in the league. And I feel like I'm pretty experienced now. I mean, that playoff run definitely added some character to all of the older guys. And I think the younger guys got to watch what we went through, and kind of that heartbreak, but how hard we were playing, and how many little things that we were going through. I mean, I don't know if the last few weeks there were guys in the therapy room every day. I know I was battling with some stuff. I don't know if anyone really on the team wasn't battling with anything. So I think I'm really proud of the way that we kind of sucked it up. And obviously we went to 7 games that round before, and I think that in the end kind of left us without gas there. And maybe we took some injuries in that series that definitely carried over. But I think the younger guys really got to watch that, and I know that's going to help them when they're in the spot next year, and they're going to be counted on. They kind of got to watch what we went through. And then obviously for us, we went through it, and we know the feeling afterwards. So I think this is probably the most focused and driven I've been, not even just about myself, but making sure that I'm on all the team guys, and making sure that they're ready for next year, and they're doing everything they can so that we can win next year.
Oh, well, if coaching or management is listening or watching this, they got to get you on after all that, man. You deserve some hair on your face for stepping up and stuff like that, man. But Hey man, you're totally right though. You know, to have that mentality and going forward is what you guys want. And I mean, we touched upon it a little bit too, but it didn't all really start here, at least in the O, right? Obviously, you played minor growing up here, and did that lead you to getting drafted, or were you a walk on to Ottawa?
No. So I played my Sun County days over there, and then I grew up playing in Windsor.
Mhm.
We moved out to Tecumseh when I was 12 or 13. So then I had to switch teams based on the boundaries and stuff like that. And then
Mhm.
I finished my minor hockey career here, and then I went 5th round to Ottawa that draft. But I also got drafted to Muskegon in the
Oh,
USHL. So I kind of had two options there, and I was weighing school versus OHL and kind of
yeah.
seeing what would be the right fit for me. And eventually, I chose the OHL, and I thought that was the best route for me coming in as a 15-year-old and just getting to have that experience, especially being a late birthday. I knew I didn't end up going, but I would have 3 years until my draft, so I knew that would help a lot. And I just felt like that was the right choice for me, and Ottawa was a great spot as well.
Yeah, and you were right in the heart of it all, right? So I mean, why not, right? And
Yeah.
let's talk about that first season a little bit. You know, like you said, that was a good team, deep playoff run they went on, and obviously your role was a little different, and you had a someone accompanying you, and Windsor's Mikey DiPietro as well. So I'm sure it was a good first year to step into the league on a team like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, coming into the league, especially as a younger guy, obviously it's tough to really be an impact player. And then I came in as a 15-year-old, and the team that we had in Ottawa, we broke records. We went through playoffs. We won 14 straight, I believe. So it was a pretty special group, and just the group of guys that we had there. I mean, you can look at them now. There's a good group of them that are playing AHL. Some guys
Right.
are getting cracks in the NHL and stuff like that. So looking back on it now, it was a pretty special team to be a part of, and I think that is something that my rookie year, just the way that the older guys treated me, they could have went about their business and not been a great team guy to me. I mean, I wasn't really playing much. I got sent down at Christmas, but I think they really stuck with me and made me understand that I'm young and I got a lot of years left to prove myself. But obviously, playing in Ottawa, it's the capital. It's an amazing place to live, and it was just special. That team that we had, obviously, how much we would win and stuff like that. I know I could say this because I was up in the stands watching by the end of the year, so I didn't have the pressure on me. But
Yeah.
I felt like every time I sat down in Section A 115, I knew that we were going to win for a while there. So I think that was pretty cool. And then obviously Mikey DiPietro, he's been the face of Windsor for so long, and his time here, obviously the impact he had on the ice and off the ice, the goalie that he was, and helping Windsor get a Mem Cup. But then also, I think everyone knows Mikey is a great guy and a great community guy and a real leader in the community. And being able to have him come over, and he was really someone that I looked up to growing up. So to be able to finally play on the same team with him was pretty cool for sure. And I think he was a great mentor to the young guys as well.
Yeah.
So I think that was definitely cool. And obviously, we lost to Guelph in the finals there, which sucks. I didn't really. I couldn't do much about that. I was in the stands the whole time. But yeah, definitely watching that. I think that just made me realize how hard it is to really win in this league, because that team that we had, I didn't think we could ever really lose, and we still did. So I mean, it was definitely a good learning experience, and to get that over with early on in my OHL career was definitely big.
Yeah, very true. And again, that team was like, you know, they were the ones that everyone thought was going to win, right? And then you guys end up losing to Guelph and another Windsor kid, and Owen Lalonde, right? So it kind of
Yeah.
goes to show like how deep kind of Windsor hockey is. I'm sure obviously you know, just from playing and your family and your dad training all these guys, how deep the local scene is too, right? So I'm sure, you know, I see you guys working out I think at your house, your dad's house, or whatever, and
Yeah.
everyone's joining, right? Because there's probably like a waiting list for that, because there's so many good hockey players in the area, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's something that is really big these days. I know my friend group, there's 7 or 8 of them that work out at my house, and I know they're gonna have futures in hockey. Some of them are going D1, some of them are going CIS and stuff like that. And I think the crop of Windsor players is just a lot bigger than it used to be. I know
yeah.
there's definitely a few NHL guys, Hodgson, Pumple, Cassian, those guys, Murphy, but I think the group of guys that we have from the 01s to the 05s right now, I think those are the guys that I work out with, so I know them. But there's a lot of OHL players, a lot of D1 players, guys that are definitely making it places in hockey. And I think it's really nice to see. I mean, obviously it helps for summer skates. You can get a really good group together and stuff like that. But it kind of shows the effect that I really feel like that 2010 team really had. Just, I feel like everyone grew up watching them and fell in love. And I think that's a big reason why there's so many good Windsor players from around this age group.
Wow, that's a really good point. Didn't really think of that, but it's true though what you say. It kind of makes me realize. I mean, this next generation is going to be a huge pool of players, rather if they go pro or not, that are going to be all around the world playing, at whatever level. So it's cool that you get to, obviously interact with a lot of them, and your dad's probably seen a lot of them come through as well, right? So it's kind of cool. Just little, you don't notice this stuff, right? Especially like we were talking about as well, and this championship series. A lot of people don't realize what's going on in the locker room. They don't realize what's going on, down the road either.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that's something that Windsor's really good for too. Is, I mean, I know I skate in London in the summer a bit. My skating coach is up in London, so I'm up there quite a bit. And I head into the rink, and you go into the room, and no one knows each other. And then I feel like I come to skate in Windsor, and everyone knows each other, and everyone's good friends. So I think that's something that's really cool about Windsor, is even though there's a good amount of elite players now here, and there's a really good group. I mean, we all grew up small town, and everyone kind of knows each other some way or another, played on spring hockey teams or against them, or your older brother, your younger sister is friends with their siblings. So I feel like that there's definitely a sense of community in the locker room these days, and everyone seems to know each other, and it makes for a pretty cool summer skate.
Hell yeah, man. I can only imagine. And I mean, to kind of go back to we're talking about your career and kind of chronologically. So you're in Ottawa and you get traded over to Windsor. We talked about it a little bit as well as in the off season, but that had to have been just a special moment. I mean, obviously you want to take on that role and stuff, but it had to just be a special moment for you and your family, to maybe get that call and find out that's where we're going home.
Yeah. And I think it definitely took me by surprise. I didn't really think I was on the trade block at all. And then to end up getting traded, and then hearing that the team was Windsor, obviously just a ton of emotions. And obviously it was bittersweet. You didn't want to leave Ottawa because I had so much fun there and stuff like that. But I think I really just had to embrace the role of coming home, and just how special it was. And looking back on it now is the best decision I could have made. Being able to come back and really help the community was definitely something that was big. And I think I saw firsthand just the potential that I could have and the impact I could have on Windsor, just firsthand with Mikey, and getting to play with him, and knowing how much people really idolized him and looked up to him as a person and as a player. And then being able to come home and try to make my own legacy like that. Obviously it took a little longer for me. I had to come back, and we had a really good team in Windsor, so I didn't really play much, and I kind of had to wait in the shadows for a bit and wait for my time. But I think that was something that stuck with me the last few years, is just leaving a legacy and an impact on Windsor for when I'm done playing for Windsor, that hopefully it's positive, and I could definitely help the young kids like the 2010 guys help me.
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%. It's so true. And, just having that, he's from Windsor stamp on you makes a big difference too, to the Windsor fans, right? So it's always an added plus. And although, you're probably familiar with the rink, familiar with some of the staff, coaching, whatever it may be, it was still a new team for you when you came in, right? So what do you kind of remember about some of your first games? First game at the WFCU had to have been pretty cool too, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my rookie year, I was supposed to play in Windsor. It was, I think, October, November. So I would have been 2 months, and I was really excited to come home finally after two months in Ottawa, and just be able to see my family and play in front of my friends. I was really looking forward to that day. And as that came up, I got a call from Hockey Canada saying that I'd be playing U17 out in New Brunswick. So Obviously, you're not going to say no to
Yeah.
Hockey Canada just to come home for a day. And it worked out. Going to play for Canada was definitely a really special experience. But I never got to play at home my first year. So playing there, I remember that first game in Windsor, and kind of just the nerves that I was feeling. It was crazy. It was a lot of emotions. Just you're finally on the bench for the first time instead of being in the stands for so many years, and watching these guys. And as a kid, I mean, it seems like everyone's so old, and it seems so hard to really get into. And then you're finally there, and you're like, this is pretty insane. And I just remember I looked up, and I was trying not to look at anyone in the stands, but I saw a few of my buddies, and I think I saw my grandma or someone up there. So definitely a lot of emotion at first, but it was something that I kind of used. I like when people come to watch me get to a little added fuel for sure. So I think I got used to that, and I used it to work on my game and make sure that I wasn't letting anyone down if they were coming to pay for tickets and watching it.
Yeah, well, you definitely lived up to it, man. It's funny you say that, because I remember earlier in the year, maybe even the playoff, I don't know, just a random moment you scored and you like jumped into the glass, and people are hitting it. It's like whoever you jumped to could have been someone you went to high school with. It could be a friend. It could be anybody, right? That's just, you just know. And like any other team, if you're not from there, like obviously that might not be the possibility or the chances, right? But it's just like you can know like half the rink for all I know, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and I think
bonus.
that makes it pretty funny too, especially when I'm like, especially this year when I'm on the ice and maybe I had a long shift or something and I got to go out for a power play, or I'm bent over and I'm kind of just looking around trying to catch my breath, and then I look up and I see one of my buddies or someone that I went to high school with and stuff like that, and I give them a little smile. Like, I can't really do too much, but
right, yeah.
It's definitely funny when I'm trying to catch my breath out there and I look around and I see someone that I know, and then you gotta turn back and focus on the game, obviously. But it's definitely cool knowing that people are there supporting you, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And we'll talk a little bit about that too. But it's just funny, obviously you're in a fishbowl and everyone's looking at you. But like, if you know that, like, I'm not from here, nobody knows me or whatever, it's a little different, right? So
Yeah.
I just remember, like, since we were talking about it, I remember like seeing that, and it's like, I wonder if he knew that person, right? Because it could be his neighbor or something, for all I know. But
for sure.
Obviously, like you talked about, man, so you waited your time, but some huge improvement for yourself and the team this year. I mean, to talk about this season, it must have just been good to get back to it. I mean, after the break too, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it all started with that COVID lockdown. Obviously, no one really knew what was going to happen. And for me personally, coming out of that second year and not really having a great year, it was kind of gut check time. I knew that if I wanted to make it somewhere in hockey, that this was going to be a little test, and definitely a time where I could either come back and be the same player I was, or come back and try to be an impact player and an elite player in this league, and really make an impact for myself and try to make a future out of this game, and kind of turn it into a job. So I think that's when I kind of really started taking hockey fully serious, just with my diet and the way I work out and my mindset, working on different things to build confidence and stuff like that. And just taking everything. I got a shooting room down in my basement, so I'd utilize that every night. And I think that was a really big time where a lot of guys couldn't work out and skate, but obviously with my dad, he's been the biggest part of my success so far in hockey. We got a gym in the garage, so when everything's shut down, I can just wake up, roll over, head downstairs, and I'm in the garage working out when a lot of people lost access to that. During COVID, I got synthetic ice in the basement so I could put on my skates and shoot pucks, and I really just work on myself. And I mean, during the lockdown in Canada, Ontario especially, there wasn't really much you could do. So I feel like I really just took that time to drink coffee and shoot pucks. So there wasn't really much else. I was no distractions for basically a full year. And I really just worked on myself. I kept to myself. I didn't really post about it, and kind of just went to work every day and tried to get better. And then headed to Sweden, and I think that really matured me. I had to go live on my own for 4 months and play pro there, and just realize how good players are around the world, and playing against men, how much more difficult it is, and how strong and fast you have to be, and especially playing on that European ice, how much you have to really value the puck. So definitely had to work on some things there, and really focused on my puck possession, which in turn built my confidence for this year. And then coming back this year, went to Washington camp, which was definitely an eye-opening experience, and realizing that it's not too far away, this crazy childhood dream of playing in the NHL. It's right there and it's in grasp. So going there and coming back and kind of using that experience to really help other guys out and teach them what I learned there, and coming in with that added level of confidence right into the season, and with new coach in Mark Savard, and then Andy Delmar, and then you have that I think one of the best, probably the best assistant coach in the OHL, and Jared Smith. He's been there forever, and kind of having him as someone that was there in my second year and really helped me out when I wasn't playing much. And I think just the tandem of coaches that we had, and it starts with, honestly, I could go around everyone, the owners, Bill Bowler, the job he did this year, and on. But I think coming in and new coaches and new head coach in Mark Savard, and not really knowing what to expect, everyone was a bit nervous. I mean, this guy was a stud in the NHL, and we all watched him on TV growing up. And then next thing you know, he's in the room explaining our forecheck and stuff like that. So it was definitely nerve-wracking at first, but I think he did a really good job. He's a great players coach, and he really opened up to us and let us help him, and he helped us. And I think that's what made him such a good coach down the stretch there. And I think what really happened this year, with what made us a great team, is kind of just how close knit we were as a group. And we were brothers by the end of the year there. You're hanging out in hotels every day together. And I think we really just got close, and that's what made this team so good, was kind of just the chemistry and the culture that we built around this team. Was special.
Yeah, man, that's actually exactly where I was going to go next, right? To kind of talk about the season, and then, to talk about the group itself. You already hit the nail on the head though, but like, by the end of it, just a tight knit group. What can you kind of say about this group? Because like you said at the beginning, no one really knew what to expect.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, coming into this year, obviously we knew Wyatt Johnson was going to be a special player. He's a first rounder, and Will Cooley, obviously, second rounder. We kind of both knew that they were going to be special players and stuff like that, and they were going to be the focal points. And then I think we had a lot of guys step up as the year kind of went on. Luca Hino really made a name for himself, and he was phenomenal all year. We had that goaltending tandem that really kind of helped us in playoffs when one was hurt, or if someone wasn't having a great game, the other could step up and kind of take in that role. And so obviously I think the thing that was really special about this team is the lack of ego. Everyone left their ego at the door. Obviously, when you have Wyatt Johnson on your team, he could come in and kind of say whatever he wants, but he didn't. And I think he was the most humble guy that I've ever really played with. So when you see your best players is like that, and everyone kind of just follows in that direction. And I think that's what made us really special. Is no one was working for personal stats or personal glory. And we knew that the farther we went as the year went on, that the more looks we were going to get. So I think that's what we were focused on. You see the other teams, they really care about stats and stuff like that, and trying to sign contracts. And we were just focused on winning and playing for as long as we could, so people could see us, which was a mindset that Savard really drilled into our heads, and he knows firsthand just how it works. So I think we all really trusted him, and that's what made us so close. But then obviously, again, Bill Bowler made some great trades throughout the year that really helped us. Prot, unbelievable player. Really just, we call him the sheriff for a reason. I mean, he kind of ran other teams' best players into the boards every game, and just the kind of guy he was. So nice off the ice, and then gets on the ice, and he's doing everything to help us win, blocking shots and killing guys and stuff like that. And then Christopoulos and Milet, they came over, and they were huge. And Curry, some of the blocks that he made throughout playoffs were insane. So those three guys were actually all huge assets in their own, and they all did their own thing. Christopoulos could score, and Milet was a great defensive center who had some skill. And then Curry was a great shot blocker, penalty killer, stuff like that, and an energy guy that would finish his hits too. So those were some big additions. And then Onuska, obviously, coming over, he didn't really play. He was stuck behind Brochu, who is probably the best goalie in the OHL, and coming over. And I think he really, similar to like I was saying earlier, was waiting in the shadows, waiting for his time, and he came in and ran with it. And he was great, obviously, and him and Medina really balanced each other out and made for probably, I think, the best goalie pair in the OHL. So I think, everyone, there was obviously some big moves by Billy to bring these guys in, but I think it was just the lack of self-interest in this team and really focusing on each other and playing for the other guy instead of yourself was what made us such a good team down the stretch there. And we never turned on each other at one point during the playoffs. And that's why I think we went so far.
Yeah, man. A deep team and a reliable team. Everyone was so reliable, right? Confident in each other, and made a big difference, obviously, like you're saying. But I mean, with all that, I mean, you guys were confident in yourselves, but it had to have been maybe a little nerve-wracking at times. But that crowd was so electric by the end of it. It had to have been cool. And again, to do it in front of your hometown, in front of your family and friends, and it just being exciting like that had to have been really cool.
Yeah, I think obviously as the playoffs went on, you get more and more fans. And I think the one time that I think by the end of the year, you play 68 games or whatever, preseason games, playoff games, and you kind of learn to phase out the nerves and stuff like that. But when it's the Western Conference final or whatever, and you're there, and it's a sold out building, and the crowd was just insane. And I don't know if it was because it's a smaller rink than an NHL rink, but when it's louder than an NHL rink, you know you're doing something right, and everyone's screaming, singing the anthem with you. And I think definitely there were some nerves there, but good nerves, because all these people came out to watch us, and we wanted to win for them and win for the community. And I think that series against Flint, that was the biggest reason that we really won. Game 7 at home, obviously game 7s can go either way. But coming into our rink and knowing that our fans had our back, and we get that first goal from D'Amico, and I just remember he jumps into the boards and people are losing their minds. And I think once we got that crowd into that game, it felt like we kind of had it in the bag, just because the momentum when you have the crowd into it is so hard to deflate. And especially our fans, I think we got not the craziest, but some of the most into it fans in the league in a good way. Yeah. And they have our backs no matter what. So they were definitely, I think, the biggest contributor to us winning that final against Flint.
That's cool to hear, man, because you can feel it. You can feel it, in the crowd, but you just never know for sure, right? And I'm not a big superstitious kind of guy, but sometimes when, it doesn't go your way, you're like, shit, I should have done this little thing differently. But I totally agree. As soon as that first goal was scored in game 7, I was like, I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to ruin it, but I was like, this is it. Yeah. Man. This is it.
No, for sure.
Yeah. And, since then, I mean, again, obviously we talked all about it, not the result we wanted. You guys battled with the best team possible and, showed that you guys deserve to be there. And that all of you, deserve the recognition you're deserving or getting, sorry. And you're getting it too. I mean, following that, again, it wasn't too long ago, but it seems like so long ago. And we had the draft go down, man, and you're selected in the 5th round to the New York Islanders. Had to have been just another special moment for you and your family. So kind of take me through, I guess, the day, how you found out, celebrated, and whatever.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's pretty crazy kind of how it all went down. I mean, I already missed my draft year. So coming in as a 19-year-old into the draft, you can't really expect anything. And I think going through my draft year last year and kind of not going after I thought I would have had a chance of going, definitely hurt. And I used that as fuel this year for sure. But coming into this year, I didn't really know what to expect. I knew I had a good year, but it's a draft and anything can happen. So leading up to the draft, I set up a camp with Nashville so that if I didn't get drafted, I was going to head to Nashville the day after the draft. So I was more just preparing for that. Even what happens, I knew that most of the teams had camp the next week. So I'd have to start preparing for that. So I feel like it was a different vibe around the draft this year. I wasn't really looking forward to it as much. Obviously, it's still in the back of your mind, but I feel like it wasn't really a pressure thing. And I know internally that the main goal is to sign a contract and play in the AHL and then make my way from the AHL to the NHL. That's the dream, and that's what I'm focused on. And the draft is a good a good foot in the door and shows that team has some faith in you. But at the end of the day, it's about getting that contract and really making an impact once you do get the chance to play in the AHL. So I mean, leading up to the draft, I had that set up with Nashville, and I just remember draft day. I skated in the morning, and then we had a workout at my house. One of my buddies, Stefan Dobrich, was over. My mom actually went to go get me and him lunch. She was dropping off my sister at a friend's house. So she leaves the house to go drop off my sister and get us lunch. And my dad's at work, and we're just sitting on our phones. The draft's on in the background. We weren't really paying attention. There wasn't volume on the TV. I don't know why. We were kind of just hanging out on our phones. I didn't really care if I got drafted or not. And my agent calls me. He's like, "Congrats, Matty." And I'm like, "On what?" And he's like, "You just got drafted." And I was like, "To who?" And he's like, "The Islanders." And I was like, "I just got drafted, like, to the NHL?" And he's like, "Yeah, you did." Did I ruin it? I was like, I wouldn't say like ruin it, but this is how I found out. And then he goes, "Okay, we'll go celebrate." So I hang up the phone, and I was like, "There's no way." So I run back into the house, and I look at the TV, and my name's on there. And my buddy goes, "You're telling me I was on Twitter and I missed it?" And looks up, and he starts going nuts. And obviously my mom calls me crying, and my dad's at work, and he calls me. And it was definitely a special night. We went out for dinner with family and friends that night, and definitely enjoyed it. But I don't know, it was a pretty crazy and different circumstances than the year before, where I was kind of waiting on draft day and waiting for my name to be called. And this year I was kind of just lounging around on Instagram, on my phone, hanging around after a workout, dead tired, not really paying attention. And then my agent calls me because I didn't have my volume up. So yeah, it was definitely a different experience, but I think I was just, I couldn't stop smiling the whole day. Obviously getting drafted in the NHL is something that you look forward to since you're young, and being able to talk to Lou Lamoriello, obviously with how storied he is. And I think everyone really knows about him in the hockey world, and being able to go to a place like the Islanders and just how historied and how storied of a franchise they are. And knowing that there's opportunity there was definitely the part that was the most special. I think I was more just focused on where I went as opposed to where I went in the draft.
Of course. Yeah.
I really just cared about what team, and I don't think I could have been any more happy than to go to the Islanders. And obviously it made for a special day for sure.
No doubt, man. That's really cool. That's probably the way you should go about it, is just not worry about it and see what happens, right? I figured, you weren't really paying attention, at that point. So it's cool to hear, man. And, no matter where you end up, I hope to see you kind of leading the Spitfires next year, but no matter where you end up in the next year or two, I'm sure it's going to be a good spot. So thanks a lot for taking the time to do this, man. It's been a fantastic chat. Again, a kid from Windsor who got to play for our Windsor Spitfires and has a bright future. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Take care. All the best.